I need to start this story with some background information so you can truly understand the level of fear I felt. When I was a kid, I was down in my parents' basement. It was early summer and there was a toy on a shelf that I wanted to bring to the beach. I think I was 5 at the time, which is probably why the experience stuck with me. Of course, the toy was on one of the top shelves, so I started climbing. However, physics had its way, so the shelf tipped over with me hanging on for dear life. Luckily, the shelf was caught by a trunk that stood next to it. What wasn't so lucky was that a large spider was on the shelf where the toy was, so both the toy and the spider landed on me. The toy on my arm and the spider on my face. I started screaming for my parents. Dad came rushing down and helped me up. He saw the spider crawl away towards the dark corner of the basement and comforted me, saying, "Everything's all right," as he checked if I had any injuries or bites. Fortunately, I only got winded and a couple of bruises. Now, on to what happened recently. About 4 weeks ago, I was bitten by a spider. My friends and I were swimming in a lake nearby, and it was almost dark outside. I never saw it, so I don't know what kind of spider it was. The bite didn't look weird at first, but as the day went on, it changed. The first week I only saw redness and a little bit of swelling around the bite. The second week, there was some tension under the skin. It felt like the skin was stretched a bit and it was a bit sore to the touch. I went to the doctor because it's not supposed to feel that way. He said it could happen in rare cases. I got a shot for tetanus and a 10-day prescription of antibiotics. I thanked him and stopped for a latte on my way home. Last week I swore I could see something under my skin. There was a discoloration darker than my skin, which isn't saying much, me being of Norwegian descent. I must have been hallucinating because the shape was that of a spider. It almost looked like it was pulsating. I went to the doctor again, explained what I saw. When he looked, my leg was normal. No dark shape under my skin, no abnormal pulsating. I swore I saw it, and he asked if I'd been doing any drugs lately, or if I'd been under a lot of stress at work. I was under a lot of stress, that's true. The few weeks before vacation is always busier than the rest of the year, and to be fair, I only saw the dark shape just before bedtime. Fast forward to earlier this evening. I felt a sharp pain in my inner thigh, where I was first bitten. At first, it was barely noticeable, like when you somehow get a hair caught in the fabric of your jeans. Then it got increasingly worse. I all but tore my jeans off, and to my utter horror, I could clearly see the shape of a spider under my skin. There was no denying it now. My skin stretched and ached as it moved. I almost panicked. I had to get the thing out of my leg. I ran to my kitchen, trying to find a clean knife. Damn it, lack of cleaning habits. I didn't have a clean kitchen knife, so I aimed to clean one off as fast as I could. However, the pain was getting too great to push away, and I collapsed onto the floor. I started clawing at my skin as the movement underneath it became unmistakably real. I clawed and punched where the shape was. Suddenly, it stopped. I sighed, crying with relief as I got a moment to breathe. I gathered myself once again, planning to cut whatever it was out of my leg. I screamed in pain as whatever was under my skin now began to move again. My skin was stretched once more, but this time I saw 8 sharp points spread somewhat evenly across the shape. The 8 sharp points rose, and shortly after broke my skin. Blood started to pour as it slowly cut its way out, making 8 sharp cuts in my skin. I thought I was going to pass out because of the pain. With one last twist, it cut a round hole in my leg. It started to wiggle its way out, blood flowing everywhere. I couldn't move. I was too terrified. I was locked in freeze mode. First the body popped out, then one leg, then another. I could see sharp blades on the spider's leg joints. The spider was blacker than black. It was like a spider-shaped void crawled out of me. Third leg, fourth leg. Blood spattered on my cabinets, my floor, and in my face as one leg after another came loose. Fifth leg, sixth leg. I started getting dizzy, likely because of the blood loss, but also because of the whole experience. Seventh leg, eighth leg. It was out of my leg now. It turned back at me, its 8 eyes glowing in the dim light of my kitchen. It didn't have a face like a normal spider with 2 big fangs. Instead, it looked like it almost had a circle of what resembled metal teeth, like a saw blade. Had I not known better, I could swear it gave me a sinister grin. With one quick motion, it bit down on my muscle and tore a chunk out of it, while I once again screamed in pain. It took another bite, and another, and another. Finally, it seemed like it was done feeding. It started to move away from me, leaving me in a small pool of my own blood, aching leg, and trauma to last me a lifetime. I finally switched from freeze to fight, anger boiling inside me. I reached for the cast iron pan I left on my stove. I couldn't stand, at least not without help, so I crawled toward the spider, pan in one hand and my other balled into a fist. I gritted my teeth, getting closer and closer. As I reached the spider, it sensed me and turned around. It lifted its front legs and hissed at me. I didn't care as I raised my hand holding the pan, and I roared with primal fury as I brought it down with all the might I could muster. Crunch! It screamed. I raised my hand again and brought it down even harder. Crunch! Another scream. I kept hitting it until it was just a mess of blood, guts, and gore spread out over several square feet. I crawled to my bedroom where I left my phone, leaving a trail of blood behind me. I called an ambulance and blacked out. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. They asked me what had happened, and I explained it to them. They called in a spider expert. She asked me to explain, to the best of my ability, what it looked like. She said there was no known species of spider that looked like that. I told her she was free to enter my apartment and look for herself. I gave her my number. I'd be at the hospital for at least another week. Later that day, she called me. She was let into the apartment by the police who guarded the place. The paramedics didn't know at the time if a crime had been committed, so they called the police just in case there was evidence that had to be collected. She told me she saw the pan on the floor and what looked like a mess of torn muscle and blood. She didn't see any remnants of a spider, though. The thing that worries me the most is, I think I hear something crawling in the vent in the hospital at night. Yesterday, I could swear I saw something glowing behind the vent. I hope it's not coming back for seconds.
I really don't like spiders. And this one was on another level. Thomas's main computer still doesn't work, but at least he got a new fucking motherboard. Subscribe for even better stories coming later this week. Thanks for watching.